Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Cap. We're so glad you're here today. And just a few reminders about Zoom, although I think we've all gotten pretty darn good at this. We are recording this morning, and please do stay on mute. But if you do have a question, you can unmute, or you could put it in the chat box. We'll be watching the chat as well. And then if you would, just a real quick check-in, let us know what agency you work for, or what program you're with, and what your current go-to website is right now. Where are you going for your resources and information right now? All right, Wade is sharing Colorado 4-H STEM 12.org. Denise says National After School Association, Colorado After School Partnership. That's a good one. All right. A lot of health department websites these days. Yep. Oh, hello, Michelle from Wisconsin. All right. Calm.com. Oh, yes. Good one. Okay. We've got a few people from Wisconsin. Welcome. Scratch.mit.edu. Oh, that's an interesting one. And we'll share this out later with everybody. We'll send a follow-up email with these resources. Okay, and if you're just joining us, people are sharing their name and the program that they're with, and then also the current go-to website or resource, what has been helpful for you right now. Okay. All right, I just want to say a little bit about what Colorado After School Partnership is. Colorado After School Partnership is one of 50 statewide after-school networks that comprise the national network of statewide after-school networks funded by the CS Mott Foundation. And our mission is to develop partnerships that improve outcomes for all children and youth through high-quality, expanded learning opportunities found in after-school and summer programs. Oh, and I see that is our mission. It's right there on the page. And today we are pleased to welcome Kyle Swank with the Mizzen by Mott team. Kyle will be providing a demo of the Mizzen app. And let me just advance the slide here there it is. Today's guest presenter, Kyle Swank, Mizzen by Mott. Thank you so much for being here, Kyle. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and turn it over to you.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can share my screen here. Oh, let's share.
And if people want to download the app and follow along, we'll pop that link right into this chat box too.
Cool, I need to resize a few things here so that I have everything on the screen. Hopefully, there we go. All right, well, thank you to everyone for joining today. It's been this is my second Coffee with Cap, and it's always fun getting a chance to interact with everyone in the after school programs, to hear your feedback, talk with you, see how you're doing, how we can help, and just learn more. So hopefully we can learn a little bit more about Mizzen by Mott today. So I'm going to do something a little different. The last time I did this sort of demo, I did it from a phone and showed this phone on screen. Today we're going to try doing it from a web browser. So this is something that I don't think too many people know is possible, but you can actually access the Mizzen by Mott app from your computer's desktop web browser as well. So you can kind of see the URL here. Hopefully it's app.mizzenapp.org. We can make sure that gets into the chat box at some point too, so you'll have that. So in some instances, it might be easier to use your phone everything is the same between kind of the phone and the web browser. But for others, it might be easier to print or to access content or share that content from your web browser on a computer. And this should work on tablets as well as laptop computers and desktop computers. So that's what we're looking at here. Once you've created an account and signed in, you're presented with the home screen. I've set mine up a little bit, so yours may not look quite the same. So it's welcoming me here. You can see groups that we have. We'll talk a little bit more about groups here in a little bit. And you can easily click on one to take attendance. You can see we have two different types of content that are featured. We have curricular content. So this here is sort of the activity of the day. You can see the name of it. It's an activity, some of the tags that belong to it. So this one here is about geometry and math and spatial reasoning. You can see the duration, about 45 minutes, and then the grade ranges. We also have a tip of the day. This is personal development or professional development. So this correlates more directly with pro tips. So if you've done any browsing, you might be a little bit familiar with the pro tips area. But we'd like to try to present a new activity or and a new tip of the day, a professional development tip for you. So every day these will change. So stop back in every day, take a look at something new. And we'll dive into the area that I think is the most exciting for everyone, and that is the content area first. So if we click on content, we're presented with a list of all of the activities by default. So activities up here, and everything below is going to be a list of activities. So we have some featured content. This is stuff that we might put featured in the app for purposes like maybe we have a particular highlight for a holiday for the week, or something along those lines. Currently, we're doing something. We'll jump ahead just a little bit here. I'll go to playlists. We have 23 days of fun, healthy, and creative activities for December, which we're running right now. And so the calendar for this has 5 activities every week around the idea of fun, healthy, and creative activities. Those activities are all featured in the activities area. So you'll be able to easily find those right from there. We also have new additions. So anything new that we add, those will show up here in a list of what's new. And then you can also see each of the categories. So we have 21st century skills, arts, college and career readiness, and so on, right on down the line here from entrepreneurship. At the very bottom, we have STEM. So all of the activities are laid out by their category here, as well as the featured and new additions. So we also have 2 other types of content. So let's talk about each of those a little bit more specifically. Activities are sort of like a one session sort of lesson. So something that you would typically sit down and complete in one session. The other 2, playlists and modules, are collections of those activities. So modules are, they tend to depend on one another. So you'll usually see modules where you start an activity, might start building something, and then the second activity builds upon the previous lesson, and so on. So these here work really well together, and they should be completed typically in the order in which they're presented. Playlists are a little different. They're also collections of activities. However, they're a little bit more broad. So we might find something like the playlist that we kind of just talked about. All of these here are just supposed to be fun, healthy, and creative activities. And they're not all by one publisher. They're not on any one particular category or subject area. They're typically typically around a certain thing, but a theme usually, but they can vary quite a bit. We have several of them here, including art projects for K-12 or K-5. These are something we kind of created for those of you that are teaching remotely, or you have small groups. So there's a bunch of these here. So this is like art and design for middle school at home. And this one here is art projects for K-5, for home and small groups. I have a bunch of others here. So if you're looking for something for home type things, or somebody or you may be doing small groups, this area in playlists under featured would be a really good place to start. So let's go ahead and take a look at like just one of these activities here that we can kind of look at. One of my favorites is this jamming with musicians. I like to play guitar, sort of one of my fun things. So when I see something like this, I always tend to like to look at them. This one here is by Jazz at Lincoln Center. So one of our premier content partners. It is in the arts category, and you can see the tags. So we'll talk a little bit more about tags as well. But this one here is got a few tags. It can be done virtual or small group. You can see the duration, 1 hour, the grade ranges, a little snippet about what this activity is going to help with, what it's providing, some of the learning objectives, any materials that are needed to complete the activity are here, including links to, in this case here, I believe there's songs. So everything that's necessary to kind of complete this activity, it's all listed right here, including the links and attachments. So we have like PDF guides that are included. So if you have something that might require some handouts and printouts and things like that, they will all be here. You can easily view them. So here's a PDF with all of the details necessary for that as a handout. You can also print it. Any preparation steps. So if you needed to do something prior to teaching this particular lesson, those are all outlined right here in the preparation area. And then finally, we have activity steps. So you can see this one here is about 5 minutes, the steps about 35, and so on. So everything you need is sort of outlined here. And every activity in Mizzen is laid out the same. There might be a few additional areas. I know some of them have variations. So sometimes you can mix the activity up a little bit depending on what the needs are for the classroom. So you'll find that sometimes in some of these activities as well. Over here on the right-hand side, we have a set of icons. So if I wanted to print this activity, I can hit the print button. You can see a little preview over here on my screen, and it's all laid out just as we had looked at. So easy to print right there. I can also bookmark it. So bookmarking an activity allows you to save it for later. So just a way to kind of easily find maybe something you want to look at more later, or you want to reuse this activity with other kids. That's all available via the bookmarks, and I'll show you how to find those in just a minute. And then finally, we can schedule activities. So that's what this button here is. So I'll click that. I have set up a couple of groups. And so let's go find, say, Team Catch Up here. They're going to actually do this lesson tomorrow. So I'm going to choose December 9. I hit save, and now it has scheduled that activity for tomorrow. So very easy to schedule activities. We'll jump ahead here just a little bit to groups in a minute, but I also want to take a look at a couple of other small things. So we have an add a review button. This particular lesson or this activity does not have any reviews yet. However, if there were, you'd see the reviews listed here. Click or tap on that, and you'll see the reviews. You can add one by tapping on the add a review. You can give it a star rating. And then here you can also provide a bit of information. What I like to suggest that people do is, did it work well in your classroom? Did you have to change anything? If so, kind of detail a little bit about that. That helps other instructors maybe be able to learn from what you had done, and might save them some time or help them be able to execute this activity better in their classrooms. So this is a way for you to kind of help each other. It allows you to find high quality, engaging and exciting activities easy because you kind of rated them, and your peers in the after school programs have done the same. So if you have the opportunity, you've tried something within Mizzen by Mott, go ahead and review it. Include some information about how it helped you. Likewise, if it didn't help you, you can mention that too. This is really useful information for us and also the content providers though. So definitely try to provide this where you can. It's helpful for everyone. So once you've done that, you can hit the plus button or the check button up here, and that will save it. And then everyone else can see your review by hitting the reviews button here. So that's an activity. Very quickly, we'll go through like modules here. So we have, do I have that one here? Yeah, so let's take a look at this real quick. So down here at the bottom in STEM, I have this module called Intro to Science Notebooking. If I click on that, you're gonna see something very similar here. This is a module, but it's very similar to what you just seen in an activity. So it has the same sets of information. You can see the name of it, the category, tags, duration, grade range, and everything like that, including a description about, what is this about, and then a list of the activities. So if I click on one of these, it's going to give me a brief description of that activity. And then if I hit view, it's going to take me to that activity as well. And this here has the same layout of the other activity that we just looked at. So that's one of the really big advantages to Mizzen by Mott. It's every activity is going to have the same layout. It's going to allow you to know exactly what materials you're going to need, how to prepare for it. You're going to see all of the information about that activity, how to teach the lesson in your classroom is all the same. So once you've seen one, you kind of have an idea of what the layout is going to be and how it can help you more quickly execute an activity in your classroom. So if I go back here, we also have something else for some of the activities. There are pro tips that are related to each of the either an activity or a module or a playlist. So in this case here, we have a few pro tips. These are the professional development curriculums. So you can see here, we've got 3 separate pro tips that are related to the science notebooking module. So if I click on that, it's going to take me over here to pro tips, and it's going to give me a bit of information about how better to teach and execute that particular module in the classroom. So if you happen to view an activity or a module and you're like, I don't really know how I can, teach this, I need some help, see if it has any professional development pro tips for you. These documents will help you learn a little bit more about how to teach that activity in your classroom. So they're just helpful tips. Some of them are a little bit more like sort of a look back on maybe some of the teaching methods you've used and how you can kind of reintroduce those into your teaching. And some of them are really good reminders. As somebody who used to be in the education program, I've looked at a few of these pro tips and I've been like, okay, I really remember that, but I totally forgot about that. So as a potential teacher, you might find that maybe some of these refresher pro tips will help you. All right, so that's kind of the modules, and playlists are the same. They're identical to modules in terms of their layout, their functions, just a little different. They are based around a broader theme. Along the bottom here, we have 4 additional buttons. So browse is what we've been looking at, and it just allows you to browse through everything. You can kind of see here, I can tap left and right to kind of view through things. There's a more button which I can click on that takes me to a full list of everything in the entrepreneurship area. But I also have bookmarked here. So if I click on that, it's going to show me everything that I've bookmarked in the past. So you can filter it by playlists, modules, and activities. This one here is rather exciting. Last time I was on the Coffee with Cap, we had several different speakers from different areas. One of them was STEM Next and the Million Girl Moonshot. We now have some of their content. They were promising that was going to be in the Mizzen by Mott app. And I wanted to point that out, that we do have some of this content now available in Mizzen by Mott. So if you were there at the last Coffee with Cap where I was involved in the Million Girl Moonshot, you can see some of that content right here within Mizzen. And just like all of the others, everything is provided right here for you. So you got your activity steps. This one here's really robust and has some additional pro tips that are going to help you teach these activities in the classroom as well. So definitely check that out. And the Jamming with Musicians one that I was just looking at, that's here as well. And then somebody mentioned Calm as one of their resources on the way in today. I love some mindfulness and meditation. So I'm right there with you. We have some activities around health and wellness and social emotional learning and everything here as well. So You know, learning objectives, materials. I like this one. It has no materials. It's just you and your breath, which I really like. As somebody who's recently gotten into meditation, this is something I wish I would have learned in the classroom much earlier. So I really enjoyed this particular activity.
Kyle,
So
can I
that's
ask
kind
you
of,
a couple
yeah,
questions?
fire away.
So what's the difference between a module and an activity?
Okay, so an activity is a single lesson, something you would sit down and complete in one sitting usually. A module is a collection of activities. So usually you'd look at a module as something that you're going to do across a week or maybe 2 weeks, depending on the length of the module. And so each activity within the module will be effectively one sitting or one session.
And the other question I had is does the calendar sync with like personal calendars, like my Google Calendar?
Yeah, it does not sync with your calendar on your computer. That is a request that we've gotten, and I've passed that along to our team to make sure we can kind of take a look at that and see whether it's feasible or whether it's something we can do. If that is a feature that's important to you, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at info@mizzen.org. I'd love to hear how you would use it. Sort of give me a little bit of information on how I can try to sell it for you with the team. The more that I can understand how it's going to help you and how important it is to you, the better I can be a voice for you on the team. So definitely reach out to me if that's a feature that's interesting to you, or any feature for that matter. If there's something that's missing that you really want to be in Mizzen, I want to know about it so that I can help you. You know, you know, I want to be a voice for you. I want to make sure that if there's something missing, we're talking about it and we can consider adding that in the future. I can't promise that we add everything, but knowing about it's the first step. So help me help you explain how best that I can lobby for you within the Mizzen by Mott team. Cool. Any other questions? I could probably take a look at the chat myself, but I always get lost.
I think the other thing I was curious about are who are the other premier content partners?
Okay. So we'll kind of get to that in just a second here. Very quickly, though, I'll take a look at scheduled. So everything that I've scheduled, so I did schedule that, uh, the activity around, what was it? The jamming with musicians, right? So I scheduled that one earlier. Everything that I've scheduled will show up here. So I can easily find those as well. And then finally, to kind of answer your question more specifically here, if we go to search, I can do a whole bunch of things. One of them, which I'll just jump to right away here, is looking at the publisher list. So this is a full list of the content partners within Mizzen. So we have Youth Quest, Venture Lab, STEM Next, PBS, Oregon Ask, National Geographic. I like that one. That one interests me a lot. NASA as well. A bunch of really cool activities from all of these different providers. Jazz at Lincoln Center, Foundations Inc., California Academy of Sciences. They're the ones that did the science notebook. Airway Science for Kids, After School All Stars. All of these are our content partners that provide content for you to use for free within Mizzen.
And then it looks like Tyler had a question as
Mm-hmm.
well. If you can touch on the invite a colleague tab.
Yeah. So one of the things that we'll talk about here is a little bit of how you can use Mizzen with your peers and colleagues. So let's hold on to that one for just a second. We'll get to that one. I'm going to cover that one a little bit more detail, how you can interact with your colleagues, and we'll touch on the invite a colleague button and a couple of other things alongside it. So search is the other way that you can find content. I know browsing's not super exciting for a lot of people, and you just want to get in, find something, and kind of get to finding that content quicker. So search is something that you can utilize to really find and narrow down what you're looking for. So you can search by curriculum type. So this is the playlist, module, or activity. You can search by category. So I've got SEL content here selected, but there's others, including 21st century skills, art, STEM, and so on. Tags are something we kind of mentioned briefly earlier. Tags are just a way to sort of additionally categorize the content. So things like addition, math, algebra. So if you want something a little bit more specific, from a tag or from a category, you can try to find a tag that sort of narrows it down a little bit more for you. There's a bunch of different things in here like board games, business related activities, some of the arts, so like ceramics and I think drawing and that type of thing are all in here. Comics, there you go, something around arts. And then, communities and things like that. So really you can find a bunch of different tags, and, looking through those tags will let you kind of narrow things down a little bit more. You can also search by keyword, how long. I know some, activities might be a little too long for certain sessions. So you can pick kind of what you want from this, all the way from 30 minutes or less to 4 hours or more. You want something like within a certain grade range, you can choose that here. And then if you want activities that have a particular review rating, you can do that. This one here is not going to be quite as useful until we get more people kind of providing reviews, but you can certainly find some activities that are rated 4 and 5 and so on from here. And then the publisher that we just mentioned. So you can interconnect all of these. My general advice is to start small. So if you have a particular category you're looking for, start with that. And then see what your results are. And if you're like, oh, okay, those are too long, then you can add in like a duration, or, okay, there's too many, we need to look at different publishers or different tags and so on. But once you've kind of done that, you can hit the perform search button and it'll show you all of the results for what you've provided. So there's I think over 1,100, 1,200 activities within Mizzen by Mott now. So finding something is going to be sort of a balance between providing, just enough information within the search, but not so much that you narrowed it down really, really far. So start really broad and then try to narrow it down further. That said, if you go to search, you do not have to fill all of these out. So you can see I left the curriculum type empty and tags and keyword and everything empty. All I did was specify a grade range here and the category, and it's giving me the results for that. So that's kind of search. You just click on one of the activities and it will show you all the details. So there's another feature that we have within the app. The last two that we'll kind of talk about are around the idea of working with your colleagues. So the first one we'll look at is groups. And you can see here I have 2 groups. You can add groups here. Groups are a way to sort of organize your kids. What you do is you create a group. We'll just go to that here. You can provide it a name. You can specify which teachers are going to be participating in this. So this is one of those things where the invite a colleague will be useful, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I can choose myself here, and maybe our new team member Sarah, add her to this. Let's see here, team mustard, I guess. That's the one we have. We have ketchup, mayo, and no mustard. So let's go with that. You can specify a start date, an end date, and that's just a date. So the others I specified, the 1st through the 31st of December here, and then a start time and an end time. And we'll just use the defaults here of 3 and 3:30. And this one here, let's say we'll meet on Monday only. So you can specify the days, the times that they meet, and everything here. You can also specify the number of students. So there's no way to track individual students at the moment. So you'd specify the number of kids in that group. So this one here maybe has 10. You can specify a grade range or a age range. Maybe you've got a wide, diverse set of kids in this group, and then you can provide some distribution of race and so on here, as well as some notes. So most of this information here is going to be really helpful to us for trying to determine whether we're providing enough content that meets sort of the needs of kids maybe within a certain grade range. We can go, okay, there's X number of kids that are between the age ranges of 6 and 12, and we don't have enough content for those kids. Like they're by far the largest category. I don't know if that's true. Then we can look at it and go, okay, we need more activities for this age range because they're by far the largest group, or something along those lines. The more information you can give us here, the better we can try to provide content for you. It is optional, so if you have any concerns about privacy or anything like that, by all means, you can ignore all of these other sort of questions. But what you can provide would help us, as well as helping the content providers. They can kind of get a very broad sort of look at what grades, what states, what size of the program is using their content. That helps them sort of go, okay, maybe we have more content that we can give Mizzen by Mott in this category, because we know there's a lot of activity in that certain range, whatever area it is. So once you've kind of narrowed that down, you can hit the checkbox up here, and that allows you to create the group. Once you have the group created, you'll see the scheduled playlists up here, modules and activities as well. We currently have none, so there's nothing listed there. We can also take attendance. The attendance is just a number, so you'll tap sort of around the circle when you're using the mobile app. So maybe 9 kids showed up out of the 10 for the day. And I hit submit. It records the attendance. You can see the results in the attendance results area. You can see 90% of the kids showed up here. And then finally, the calendar. Since I scheduled one for, I think it was this one, we'll go to that one just to show it. So here in the calendar area, you'll see I have an activity scheduled at 3 p.m., which is when this group meets tomorrow. And this is that jamming with musicians activity that we had. You'll see it's right here. There's a few different ways to see the calendar. Let's just take a look at the day one. Gotta go forward one day because it's tomorrow, not today. You'll see it's listed right here at 3 p.m. I can click on the activity and it takes me directly to it. So you can use the calendar here to easily schedule that content within the app. And the best part is, if I go back here to groups, if I were to schedule something for this team here, this team Mustard, that has Sarah and I as teachers, Sarah will be able to load up the app, take a look at the calendar, and she'll see what's scheduled for the group as well. So anyone who's a part of this team will be able to see the schedule for this team. This is really helpful for site organizers as well. I don't know if we have any of those here on the call. Maybe I know I've heard from a few site administrators. They like to do the scheduling. So, they create the organization, they invite all of their colleagues to it, and then they set up these groups for each set of kids. And then the site administrator can simply schedule the activities, and the teachers can look at the schedule to see what's being taught for that particular day. So it allows all the scheduling and organization to happen within here.
And it looks like we do have a couple of questions as
Yeah.
well. One from Lisa. She asked, is there any way for tracking the students who attend?
So not at the moment. We do have some thoughts on how we want to do this. We need to be really mindful of sort of the security and safety of how we handle student information like names. It is technically what's called PII, personally identifiable information. So we do need to be really mindful of how we handle that from both a security and safety standpoint. It is something that's on the list of things we would like to look at adding, though. So if this is another thing that you would like to see added, I'd love to hear from you. How would you envision it? What's, we know it's useful, but anything you can provide kind of beyond the basics would be really helpful, just to kind of get a feeling for how everyone's going to use it, what they want to use it for. That allows us to just better understand what you're looking for.
Perfect. And then the second question is from Amber. She asked, how are the names of teachers entered so that they can be selected in the group?
Great question. So that's where we get to the invite a colleague. So let's jump into that. I know we've come kind of full circle around it. So let's take a look. So if I hit the invite a colleague button, I can type in a name and an email. This will then send an email to the address you specify. They'll hit a link that allows them to create an activity an account. Once they've created their account, they're going to be part of your organization. So I think in the original email that was sent out for this, it was specified, go ahead and sign up. and that way then you'll have the app and be able to use it while you're on the presentation here. If you were to invite a colleague, it'll invite that colleague to your team, your organization, and they'll show up in the list of teachers within groups, as well as within the messages area, which we haven't really talked about yet. So messages let you send messages between team members. So you'll see a list of all of the team members that you've invited and have created accounts here as well. So if I wanted to send a message to Penny here, I can do that. You can actually choose multiple people. So let's see here, who can we choose? Like say this Ryan here, so you can, let's see, activity X sound for Friday. So, you can easily send messages to other team members. I hit the send button here. It'll create a discussion. So now I just click here and I can see the discussion as it plays out, just similar to how you'd see a text message, but you don't have to share phone numbers, and everyone that's part of your team already shows up in the list as well. So this is kind of the power of inviting a colleague. You gain access to being able to message those colleagues when they accept an invite. And you can also use the scheduling features and groups feature with your colleagues as well. So one of the common sort of issues that we run into here is that everyone creates their own organization, and that will kind of set you up on your own island. So you're kind of on your own. And so if you need a bunch of people combined into one organization, feel free to reach out to me, info@mizzen.org again, and just give me some basic information like what team organization you want to be the primary one, and the names and email addresses of those that you want to be part of it that already have accounts, and I can kind of move them over for you. So that would allow you then, everyone that's part of the organization, use those features really easily. Does that kind of answer the questions around the invite a colleague? If you have further questions on that, I'd love to answer them for you. Take a look at the chat. I haven't looked at it yet. Okay, great. So it sounds like that answered Tyler's question. Cool. All right, so that's kind of the very basics of how to use Mizzen. So, it's useful for all kinds of things, from finding the content that you're teaching in the classroom to, organizing and talking to colleagues, to your own professional development, kind of seeing an overview of what's going on. So you can see here again from the home screen, I didn't talk about this really in detail, but I can tap on a group and take attendance for the day right from there. So really easy to kind of do that. But it's all here. This is a tool we hope that will be really useful to everyone in making things easier for you. I know, 2020 notwithstanding, it's been a pretty difficult year. If there's anything that we can do to kind of make your job easier, we really hope that Mizzen will help do that. So any other questions that we might have? I think we've got about 10 minutes or so that we can talk about questions and kind of go through some more things if we have to.
Kyle, I just wanted to raise up a point.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa pointed out that 21st Century Learning Center programming requires attendance. You have to report the attendance. And so, again, the reason for being able to take attendance and print out reports in some way. And so maybe there's a way to do it anonymously or assign numbers or something like that. But I think that and I imagine that there's a lot of programs are required to do that.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. And so the attendance feature may or may not be super useful for you in your particular scenario, because you might have to have, I know some even require like a actual paper trail for it. And since you can't really attendance here from Mizzen, you're not going to be able to do that. In that case, maybe the attendance feature is not as useful to you as it might be for some of the smaller programs that maybe don't have that requirement. So, nothing is, you don't have to use all of the features of Mizzen. You can use what's useful to you and what helps you the most. And some of them just might not be currently able to be used for your program.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one to bring to the
Yeah,
developers,
no,
though.
we're well aware of that.
Yeah.
I will
Oh,
definitely
okay.
pass along that there were some additional requests for that here today, though. So definitely great to bring them up. That's not to say don't bring up any concerns or questions that you have. I want to hear about them because every time I hear one, I have a sort of a feature tracking tool. And every time I hear a request that we've already gotten, I just add another, kind of voice to that. So if there's anything that has a high number of people talking about it, that's something that both the development team and we want to know about.
Mm-hmm. And I did want to also make the point that this is a free program,
Yeah,
thanks to the CS Mott Foundation.
it is. Yeah, free to all after school educators. The Charles Stewart Mott Foundation provides all the funding for that. So you don't have to pay anything. There's no licensing fees. There's no, it's free on the App Store, both on Android and the Google Play Store, or Android's Google Play Store and the iOS App Store. And then you can also access it from the website here, like I've been doing today. Looks like we might have a few more happenings in the chat. The syncing the calendar thing, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, a few more votes for that too.
Yeah. I'm making notes right over here on the. You can't see it if it's over here.
There's another one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's really helpful to me to kind of have everyone speak up on things that are important to them, because if there's ways that we can make it work, then I want to be able to provide tools for you all that help you. I love what everyone does. The whole after school network. It's amazing what people will do to try to help. And the more that I learn about the after school networks and how they help, and I'm happy to be part of that. And I want to make sure that what I can do to help you, I'm doing my best to do that. So hearing your voices, hearing your needs, your wants, and all of that really helps me. So really appreciate everyone who's spoken up with feature requests or anything like that today.
Yeah, and Kelsey, was just asking or pointing out, like, we wondered if anybody in this group is currently using the app. And if not, we'd love to get feedback if you do try it out. So Gloria, if you do try it out, sharing, with Cap and letting us know how it's going and what you like about it. We'd love to hear people's experiences with the app.
Yeah, and if you have any questions while using the app, maybe I skimmed over something a little too quickly, or you want to go through a particular use case scenario for you and your program, you can reach me again, info@mizzen.org, and I during normal business hours I answer that very quickly. So anything that I can do to help you along the way. So if you have questions, you run into any trouble, reach out to me. I'm available to help you. It's what my job is. So let me help you by helping you in whatever way I can. Just reach out.
All right. All right. So Kelsey, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Cool. I think that kind of does it, huh?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kyle.
There you go. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure both times I've been on here to be able to interact with you and everyone that's joined.
Yeah, so give me one sec. We're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up next. Colorado Gives Day so far, but that is actually today. So I hope everyone's having a good Colorado Gives Day. And if you haven't, heard about it, coloradogives.org is a great site to check out. There's a ton of nonprofits on there that need support, and CAP is one of them. So, and then the next Coffee with Cap we wanted to talk about, that is coming up on December 29th, and we are opening registration for that today. So in that next Coffee with Cap, we're going to be going over some of the virtual tools for kiddos. So we are going to test them ourselves and go over, some kind of demos for those tools quickly. So that would be another cool Coffee with Cap to register for. And then, as always, we love to see involvement. So we have CAP action teams, which is essentially a group where we open up the conversation for what programs need, and then of course, there's always, the option of joining our email list. We always like to see engagement and interaction on that. And we send those out once a week with really helpful information on grants that are coming up, events, professional development, stuff like that. So I think that wraps it up on my end. We might end a tiny bit early today, but no worries.
Kelsey, can you share the link to the December 29th registration?
Yeah, I can. I will shoot that in the chat here in a few moments.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll send out a follow-up email with links shared today, registration for the Coffee with Cap, the next one, and also we will be uploading this recording of today's session onto our website. So as soon as that's ready, we'll send that out to everybody as well. Have a tremendous day, everybody.